Hello everybody and welcome to my first Blender tutorial. This tutorial will be how to make a robot called Rob. So first thing, we are going to select our light and our camera. Shift select the camera and just X and delete them because we won't be needing them here. So go into front view or press the -Y button. And we're going to click S to scale it up. 1.5 is the amount we're going to put it. Now we're going to G to grab along the Z axis, put it all the way up. Shift A to add, and we're going to add a cylinder. In this little add cylinder property box here, we're going to open it and see vertices set at 32, the default. So we're going to select that and change it to 16 because that's all we'll be needing, and it's just not worth having that many vertices. So we're going to scale this quite small down how thick you want the robot's neck to be. Scale it on the Z axis, SZ, and just put it how tall you want it. Grab it on the Z axis and pull it up here. Shift A and we're going to add another cube. We're going to scale this up so it matches two of these lines here. This line here and that line here. And we're going to grab it on the Z axis and pull it up to here. But we're going to scale on the Z axis so it's more like a body shape. We're going to grab it, just grab Z, scale Z, till it looks about right. And then line it up with the neck. Perfect. Now, as far as this 3D cursor goes, this little thing here, that's our 3D cursor. It's where anytime we add an object, that's where it will appear. So we're going to go into front view, numpad 1 if you were wondering. Get the cursor here, and we're going to place it here. That'll put it on that axis. And now we can shift A. We're going to add a cylinder for his arm. Now we're going to click Tab to go into edit mode. Select the loop cut function and loop cut. Now we're going to click this select box to make sure you're not loop cutting anymore. We're going to click this X-ray button and the Z. So now every time, this is the mirror function up here. So anything we do from now on will now be mirrored along the Z axis, up and down. So anything I do here on this top will be done on the bottom. That's the idea. So we're going to grab the top ring of vertices and we're going to GZ and move them down to about there. Now we're going to grab the middle ring, S to scale it up to kind of there. So it looks kind of like this weird shape thing. So now we're going to go Tab, go into object mode, and we're going to rotate it along the Y-axis 90 degrees. Now we're going to click X here or numpad 3 and scale this down to about the thickness you want your arm. I'm just guessing, doesn't have to be exact. Now grab it on the Z axis to about where you want to position the arm. For me, it's there. That looks about right. But now if you go into front view, grab it on the X axis to pull it into the body, so now it's like that. Now, for this little arm thing, we're going to go to the modifiers tab, or this little wrench. And then go add modifier, generate array, or you can just search array up here. Now with this, we're going to type in this box 11. This will make 11 duplicates of it. But this is still the same object. So, this offset means where to position them. We're going to put X to 0 and Z to 1. This will put them all on a line like this. Perfect. We're going to shift A and we're going to add another cylinder. If you're wondering, once you change the vertex count, that becomes the automatic default for this Blender file. Now we're going to scale it down to pretty small, about the size of your neck. Scale on Z axis. Sometimes I change it all the time, just because once it's bigger, I just rather it like taller, I rather it thinner or whatever. So now we're going to grab along the x-axis, rotate along the y-axis at 90 degrees. Now we're going to grab along the z-axis, bring it about right. Grab along the x-axis, kind of put it into the right spot. Now we're going to go to numpad 3 or just click the x. We're going to grab along the z-axis, kind of just position it right. So yeah, that looks about right. Now that little gap I don't really want. So yeah, position it where you like it. Now we're on Shift A and we're gonna add another cylinder rotated on the Z axis this time to 90. Now select this. We're gonna go to top view on the Z and we are going to go into edit mode. Make sure you click 3 or this select mode face. Now we are going to select this, turn off X-ray and just select that face there. Go back into top view and E to extrude it out. Not too much, quite small. And or to rotate it on the Z axis, and I'm just gonna kind of tilt it like that. And I'm gonna just repeat this cycle. And this is slowly creating something coming out that's rotating and turning to where we want it. So this is his hand, and it's going to be kind of a magnet shape. And we're just going to keep going. And it's a kind of boring process, but it makes his hand look so cool. Extrude, rotate. We're just going to kind of repeat that. Now, this is going to be very close. So, if you look here in this little hand, I'll move it. So we're going to zoom in on this. And this might be our last problem extruding. Extrude, and this one we're going to rotate. And if you look at these little lines on a grid here, we're going to kind of line it up to them. Perfect. So now it's basically flat. And if you look, we have kind of brought this one thing all the way from this line all the way out. Now we're going to X and delete that face. So it's hollow but not all the way through. Now we're going to go back to top view, A to select all these faces, and Shift D to duplicate. Now we're going to click X to only move around the X-axis once it's duplicated, and we're going to move it out to about here. Now we're going to rotate along the Y-axis 180 degrees, so 180. Now we're going to grab along the X-axis again and kind of connect them. And yeah, that kind of works. And if it just happened here for me, unfortunately, once you connect them, you would prefer it kind of further out. You can just Command Z a few times to when you still have that face. I'm going to extrude it out a little bit. And now we're on the go. Just repeat the same steps. A, Shift D, X, RY 180, GX, and connect them. For me, I like it like that. And now we're going to go Tab. And that's a very, very big hand. But we're going to go back into front view. We're going to rotate it on the Z axis 90 degrees. If you're maybe wondering why that was kind of a weird rotation, it's because the origin of the point is here. So we're going to right click, set origin to geometry. The origin is the point that gets moved and rotated around. It's called the pivot point for rotating. When you extrude and duplicate like that, I always set the origin to the geometry, which is putting that origin to the shape. So now we're going to rotate along the Z-axis 180 degrees. Sure, that's 80. Sorry, Just going to go back here. We're going to rotate along the z-axis 90 degrees. Perfect. Grab along the x-axis and grab along the z-axis to about where you want the hand. Now if you look, it's kind of off, that's why you're going to go into front view here. But first we're going to scale it down. Grab along the y-axis and kind of line it up. Then we're going to go again, grab along the z-axis, scale it up if you wish, and just position it till you like it. Now I'm going to rotate along the x-axis 90 degrees so his hand is facing us. So yeah, that's his hand, wrist, arm, wrist, hand, neck, body, and head. It's mainly all we have to do. Before we go any further, we're going to take all these cylinders, or what used to be cylinders, right click and shade smooth. For me, it just makes it look so much better and less blocky, like this robot is going to be. So now, we're going to select his arm, Shift D, duplicate it, Z for the Z axis, bring it down to here. The origin is this yellow point if you're wondering, and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. Grab along the x-axis to wherever you want to position your legs, really, is up to you. Now, this count here, we're going to change it to an 8. Perfect. Now, we're going to get our 3D cursor, move it just under the foot, Shift A, I'm going to add another cube. Now we're going to make sure you turn on this thing here so you can see what it's covering. Now we're going to move this 3D cursor out of the way. We don't need it anymore. I'm going to grab it on the Z axis. This is covering like 1.5 or 1.5 rings of his foot. Perfect. We're going to scale along the Y axis. Grab it, select it, scale along the Y axis. And then go to X view, grab along the Y axis, do about where you want to position your boot. Perfect. Now we're going to go tab into edit mode and we're going to add a loop cut. Loop cuts automatically go halfway between whatever, or if it's at 1 or thirds if it's at 2. But anyway, you're here and we're going to select it, and now if you hold down, you can move the loop cut. So position it where you want the boot to go up. Now we're going to go here. If you're in face select mode, turn off X-ray. Actually, we'll keep it on for this. Select this tiny little black dot here for that face. Go back into X, and we're just going to extrude it up a little bit. For me, I really don't like this bit, so we're going to select this bit here. Yeah, that boot. And we're going to go back into X view, because if you go into front view like normal, just kind of looks like a square. So we're going to scale it down along the Z axis so it's kind of skinnier. Looks a bit weird though, so we're going to make sure we're going to object mode for that. Scale it down to about the thickness of this bit you want for your boot. Go back to edit mode, select that bit, the top again, and if you want you can extrude up again. I think that for me is perfect. Now we're going to go into object mode, and that's basically our robot done. Now, before we go any further, we are going to name them. When you select an object, if you look over here, it'll show its name. You double tap on that, it'll let you change its name. So we're going to change them all to like head and body and boot dot R. You need to make sure you put in that dot R. So, and cylinder is the neck, stuff like that. And we're just going to name them all different things. Make sure you always put in that dot R though. It just makes life so much easier in my opinion. Now that's going to be called wrist dot R. Hand dot R. Last one, leg donor. And that's all of them. And now we are going to select all three of these. Select box by holding down and pulling. I'm going to go into front view, Shift D to duplicate them, X to only move them along the X axis and put them about here. Now, we're going to rotate along the Z axis 180 degrees. Grab along the X axis and line it up pretty good. Now we're going to do the same for the boot. Shift D, X. Since the boot doesn't really need to be flipped, it's just fine like that. And that's basically most of our robot done. In the next video, I will be teaching you how to texture it. So we're going to make it grey and we're going to add some buttons and give it a face screen, that sort of stuff. But for now, be proud that you basically made a robot on Blender. And this is such a hard software to learn, so well done for you for getting this far. Now remember, always Command S to save. I'm going to call him Rob, or whatever you want to call him, Rob3 for me, because this is like my multiple try on this robot before this video. So I'm going to save Blender file, and yeah, Rob is done. That is perfect. Well done you. Please consider liking and subscribing to my video.